Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukham Apnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dear Shri Deepak Bhai, dear Bhadraben, dear friends, I am extremely happy to be here this evening at Vidhyabhavan. At the outset, I am thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity of meeting you all. I am here in the United States for participating in the 19th International Congress on Vedanta at Massachusetts University, which will be held from 28th to 31st of July. And I thought of taking this opportunity of visiting the places where Swami Vivekananda had gone in 1893 to between 1893 to 1896, and again in 1899. 2 times he visited the United States. So it's a place of pilgrimage for me, going in the footsteps of Swami Vivekananda. And in that process, when Dr. Bhadraben came to know, then she has organized various lectures in and around New York and New Jersey, and then again we had a few lectures. 18th I arrived, 3-4 lectures we had today, and Vidhyabhavan, the day after tomorrow 2 lectures in New Jersey, in Share and Care Foundation at 10 a.m. and then in the evening at Sanatan Mandir. And then 28th I go to Washington DC, our center is there in Washington DC, and then from there to Chicago and see the Art Institute where Swami Vivekananda delivered his historic speech at the World's Parliament of Religion, which will be a dream come true for me. And then from Chicago to Los Angeles, we have sent to various centers in Los Angeles and Hollywood and other places, San Francisco, Sacramento, and every place they organize some lectures. And then from there to Detroit, Thousand Allen Park, where Swami Vivekananda gave his inspired talks, and then to Boston, Providence, and then to Massachusetts University. And that is the last leg of the journey. Then a few lectures again in this part of New York, and then third I go back to India. So it's a great pleasure to meet you all in this process. When I am in the United States, it's a great pleasure to come to Vidhyabhavan. I do not have words enough to express my feelings about the great work being done by Vidhyabhavan, started by Colonel L. Munshi ji, and we have Ramakrishna Mission has got a great functional linkage with Vidhyabhavan. In fact, I go to various schools being run by Vidhyabhavan in various parts of India. Just last 2 months back only, we had a national seminar at Vidhyabhavan in Vadodara. So that functional linkage is there, and Vidhyabhavan is really doing good work and indirectly fulfilling the dream of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda said, after coming back, conquering the Western countries by his great spiritual message of Vedanta, when he came back to India in 1897, he said, India shall conquer the whole world by its spiritual culture, not by nuclear bomb, by spiritual culture. Why? He wanted that the whole world should be saved. So that is why that spreading the Indian spiritual culture all parts of the world is a great mission with which Swami Vivekananda started Ramakrishna Mission, and there are various such organizations who are indirectly also doing the same thing, directly or indirectly doing the same thing, and Vidhyabhavan is doing in a splendid manner. And you are all aware, you are regular visitors of the center, so you are more aware than me about the great work being done. So I, at the outset, would like to congratulate Vidhyabhavan for its activities, and also for fulfilling the dream of Swami Vivekananda of spreading the message of Indian spiritual culture. The subject that has been given for this evening is Unity in Diversity. Wonderful subject. And it's a great coincidence that this year, 2010, is the International Year of Biodiversity. all over the world, they are now talking about biodiversity. And this morning I was in United Nations, and there I saw a signboard where they said that cultural and biological diversity are closely intertwined and both are essential for the development of the world. So, I am not going to talk about biodiversity. I am going to talk about cultural diversity and the need of finding out the unity in this cultural diversity. If we do not get the unity, we will be lost. We cannot survive. What to talk of development? And this is an age of globalization. The whole world has become a global village, as they say, because the physical distance has been annihilated. When Swami Vivekananda started from Mumbai, now that time is Bombay, now Mumbai, he started 31st May 1893. And after 2 months, he reached by the ship Vancouver, and from Vancouver he came to Chicago. I took the flight morning 4:30. By 2:30 p.m. I was in New York from Ahmedabad. So physical distance had been annihilated. Science and technology has developed so much, and through internet we are all instantaneously interconnected. Internet, mobile, ISD. So the communication technology has undergone tremendous transformation, revolution, and the whole world has become one. And that is why they say it is a global village. We are instantly connected. That's a great thing. And we are trying to find out unity everywhere. The whole world has been united as never before because of the physical distance being annihilated, because of the development of science and technology. So, physically, we are united. Physically, the distance has been annihilated. Economically, globalization, liberalization has come to stay in most of the countries. Now there is liberalization. On economic front also, globalization has been achieved. Politically, we are trying to do. That is through United Nations. After the Second World War, the wisdom dawned on some few countries that no, we can no longer go on fighting with each other and destroying each other, and in the process of this getting self-destroyed. So let us make a halt and let us try to maintain peace and let us try to understand each other, let us have dialogue. And that is how politically trying to have a unity in diversity. There are so many nations with diverse cultures, diverse languages, diverse needs and fulfillments. So many nations. They are all, so 192 nations have come together. Only 3 are left out. But they are very small. So that doesn't matter. But all the 192 nations have come together. They have become members of United Nations to bring about that unity at the political level. In spite of that, in spite of all that, today what do we find? There is no peace either at the micro level or at the macro level. No peace of mind individually, no mental peace. Everybody is in search of peace. Most of the people under tension. No peace in the family. No harmony in the family. Generation gap. No peace in the society. No peace in the nation. At the international level also, so many nations quarreling with each other. And cold wars are going on. Maybe the world war has not happened. That is, we are lucky that the Great World War has not come after the Second World War. But small wars are already there. Going on still. Even now, the peace troops are in various parts of the world, I was told. Peace troops of United Nations are still working in many parts of the world where small wars are going on. And people are getting killed every day. So we cannot have global peace unless until there is a global civilization based on spiritual culture. And so we have to find out unity in diverse cultural phenomena and diverse religious phenomena. Without that, we will not be able to achieve the goal. There is a beautiful book by Samuel P. Huntington, The Clash of Civilizations and Remaking of a World Order, in which he has given the statistics that most of the wars that were caused during last 50 years had been the wars not between nations. Basically, it was a clash of civilization. Outwardly you find two countries are fighting, but inside, internally, it is all nothing but the fight between two cultures. And more specifically, they found out that it was the war between two religions. I am quoting from the book by Samuel P. Huntington, The Clash of Civilizations, where he says, 50% of wars involving pairs of states of different religions between 1820 and 1929 were wars between Muslims and Christians. Of the 20 ethno-political conflicts of 1993-94, 15 were between Muslims and non-Muslims. Figures for deaths in fault line wars underway, backed either by fundamentalist terrorism or political power struggle in the early 1990s, included 50,000 in the Philippines, 50,000 to 1 lakh in Sri Lanka, 20,000 in Kashmir, 50,000 to 1.5 million in Sudan, 100,000 in Chechnya, and 200,000 in East Timor. So, it is basically a clash of civilizations. Unless and until we are able to find out the solution of finding out the unity in diversity, finding out the solution of multiplicity of faiths, multiplicity of religions, and unless until we cannot solve the problem of plurality of religions and plurality of faith, we will not be able to have world peace. And so I will try to concentrate on this particular aspect of finding out unity in diversity. Fortunately, in India, we found out this unity in diversity thousands of years back because of the Vedanta philosophy. There are basically two tenets of Vedanta. Number one is the divinity of the soul, where it is told inside each and every human being there is a center of consciousness. With the nature of that consciousness is all knowledge, all blissfulness. Tesha sarveshu bhuteshu godo atma na prakashate drishyate tagraya buddhya shukshmaya shukshmadarshigi. Inside every human being there is a center of consciousness. And then it is called Atman, or the soul. Second is solidarity of the whole universe. Solidarity of the whole universe, where it is told that the same divinity is present inside each and every particle of the universe. Isha vasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjita ma grida kasa siddhanam. The famous shloka of the Isha Vasya Upanishad that supreme consciousness permeating in all parts of the world, and that is why do not try to cheat others, do not try to be selfish in your attempts. Enjoy the world by renunciation of attachment and selfishness. Enjoy, of course, but then by renunciation. How can I enjoy by renunciation? By giving up. You don't have to give up the pleasures. You don't have to give up your gadgets. What you have to give up is the attachment, the selfishness. And by giving up, by having that spirit of renunciation, only you can go forward. So that message of solidarity of the whole universe, that is, the same supreme consciousness permeating everywhere, that is the message of Vedanta. Fortunately, now the modern quantum mechanics has proved it scientifically that it's a holistic universe. Bell's theorem states that all the particles of the whole universe are interconnected at a deeper level. And David Bohm, experimentally, another Nobel Prize physicist, has experimentally proved Bell's theorem, that all the particles, even the physical level, are integrated at deeper level. And what was told in Vedanta is now being retold by the nuclear physicist. And Schrödinger, another Nobel Prize physicist, says consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. There is one universal consciousness permeating the whole world. It is at the spiritual level that unity can be found out. That unity is there. And that is why, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion or nationality, we are all one. And that is why, thousands of years back, our Vedas, this shloka came. Ekam sad vipra bahuda vadanti. Truth is one, sages call it by different names. And India has been practicing not only theoretical concept. India has been practicing this. This is what Swami Vivekananda told. Through a galaxy of saints, Kabir, Mira, right from the rishis of Vedic times up to the medieval times and up to the level, the latest incarnation, Sri Ramakrishna, we have been practicing, not only advocating the unity in diversity at the spiritual level, at the religious level, at the cultural level. We have been practicing it. Ekam sadvi prabodha vadanti. That is being practiced, and that is why Swami Vivekananda, in the words Parliament of Religion, he said, we do not only tolerate, but we accept all religions as equally true. All the paths to, all the various paths, all the various religions are but different paths going towards one supreme reality. And they are not contradictory in nature. They are all leading to the same goal. This was accepted by India. And that is why India never invaded any country. And any group coming, any race, any people from various faiths, they came to India, they were absorbed. They were absorbed here. Even when the Israelites came, they were given shelter here. Even when the Persians came, when their temple was destroyed, they all came to take shelter in India, and they landed near Gujarat. I am coming from Vadodara, very near that place, about 100 miles is Navsari, and near Navsari is the small village Sanjan. There they landed, these Parsis who had fled from Persia, and they sent a message to the king of Sanjan that we want to take shelter here. The king, in reply, sent a bowl full of milk, saying thereby that we are all full, we do not have space here for more people, we are already full. And the priest, the head priest of the group, was very clever, very wise. What did he do? He took a few spoons of sugar, added into that bowl and returned the bowl, saying thereby that we will not need much space, we will need as much space as that sugar, and we will be mixing with that milk, and we will make the milk sweeter. And that is what the Parsis are doing. They have been, not only they have sweetened, they have not only that they have been accommodated. We never find Parsis as our burden. Not only that, they have sweetened our culture. They have been giving donations, these Tatars. They have been giving donations, not only to Ramakrishna Mission, so many organizations. They are doing such philanthropic work. These Parsis have been absorbed, and they have made our culture sweeter, like sugar. They have actually carried this out. This is the history of India, absorbing all the cultures and finding out the unity in this diversity. Diversity will be there. We do not want uniformity. There are two ways of finding out the unity, of solving the problems of multiplicity of faith. The one is a Procrustes method. Procrustes, it's called a Greek mythology. Procrustes was a peculiar man who used to live in the hilltop, and he had a bed, and he believed that his bed was very unique. It was suitable for all the human beings on earth. So, and that was most suitable, and that was to the size of each and every human being. And so whenever anybody will come, he will invite him to sleep on that bed. And he will say, my bed is perfect for you. And if he found that the man is short, he will just pull his legs. And if he found that the legs were bigger, then he will cut and make it to the size of the bed. But my bed is the uniform bed. And this is the pro-Christus method we have been following. All the religions say the only way we can solve the problem of plurality of religions, if there is only one religion, no problem. Na rahega baas, na bajegi bansuri. If, as long as there is multiple faiths, so long there will be problems. Let there be only one faith. Which faith? My faith. And my faith is the best faith. And is the only valid path. And so, anybody not trying to follow my faith should be immediately killed. Immediately should be killed. So that then there will be world peace. Remove all the people who do not believe in our faith. That is the best way of finding out peace in the world. This is the method that's being followed, and millions of people have been butchered, and the blood has down the drain. Religion, which was meant for being a cementing force, religion which always boasts of finding out peace, giving peace to the humanity, religion has been the force which has brought out maximum of violence, maximum of bloodshed. And that is what was bothered. That is why Swami Vivekananda was very much bothered. And he ventilated the feeling that is a paradox. Religion, we should have binded us together, the whole of humanity, we should have been the greatest blessing to humanity. These religions rather are causing conflicts and rather causing suffering, and millions of people have been butchered and killed in the name of religion, which is a paradox and which is a tragedy. And that is why I would like to quote, which is a very relevant quotation. Swami Vivekananda gave his historic speech at the World Pall of Religion. You know what was the date? 9/11. 9/11/1893, he gave a warning that if we do not put a stop to this fundamentalism, to this bigotry, to this sectarism, we will have to pay a very, very heavy price. We did not listen to him. Exactly after 108 years, 9/11. Yesterday I saw there's nothing. Two big world towers. World towers. Such tall towers. Razed to the ground within a few minutes. And more than, they say, 3,000 people died. What a catastrophe. So many catastrophes happened. But this is what before our own eyes. This has happened. The direct result of not able to find out unity in diversity. What a heavy price can be paid if we cannot find out a unity in diversity. You know, the people who were in the seat in the aeroplane, who were sitting in the aeroplane, they were all good people. They sat down in the aeroplane saying their prayers, and they believed they were doing a great noble work. You understand that? This is the great noble work they were doing by destroying World Tower. They sat down with the prayers after doing namaz. So unless and until we can have unity in diversity, we cannot solve this problem. These problems are going to multiply. Swami Vivekananda said on 9/11/1893, sectarianism, bigotry, I'm giving you the exact words within quote, Swami Vivekananda saying, sectarianism, bigotry and its horrible descendant fanaticism have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilization and sent whole nations to despair. had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it is now. But their time is come, and I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions, with the pen or with the sword, two types of persecutions, and of all uncharitable feelings between persons wending their way to the same goal. These are the exact words of Swami Vivekananda. And he also, this was on 9/11, and the last session, the last day of the parliament was on 27 September 1893. There also he articulated very charitable feelings, and he said, if the parliament of religions has shown anything to the world, it is this: it has proved to the world that holiness, purity and charity are not the exclusive possessions of any church in the world, and that every system has produced men and women of the most exalted character. In the face of this evidence, if anybody dreams of the exclusive survival of his own religion and the destruction of the others, I pity him from the bottom of my heart. Swami Vivekananda says, I pity him from the bottom of my heart, and point out to him that upon the banner of every religion will soon be written, in spite of resistance, help and not fight, assimilation and not destruction, harmony and peace and not dissension. For the first time at the world level, this parliament religions was held, interfaith harmony. First time this attempt was made, and that also United States Swami Vivekananda congratulated the Americans for attempting this type of harmony between various religions. And it was a grand thing. Almost from various parts of the world religions had come. It was a big affair. Art Institute could hold only 4,000 people, and yet 7,000 people were there to listen to the deliberations. So it was a huge success, and for the first time at the world level it was done. And that set in motion a process of finding out the unity in diversity. And not that it was completely a failure. It was successful to the extent that so long people were telling that my religion is the only true religion and all other religions are false religions, to that now many of them are saying, no, yours may be also true, mine also may be true, but mine is greater and yours is smaller. To that extent people have started accepting and started tolerating. Okay, not bad. But we have a very long way to go. Even today, there are a few fundamentalists who believe that their religion is the only religion, and all the people should either follow their own religion, they should get converted to that religion, or there is only one way, there is no salvation for them. The only path is the path of hell, and they would like to send them to hell immediately by killing them. Either by sitting in the world, by sitting in the airplane and dashing with the world tower, or finding out other various novel methods. It's a novel method of killing others. No atom bomb, no nuclear bomb, and yet the aeroplane itself becomes a bomb. Various novel methods are being found out for destroying the other religious groups. So that is why there is an urgent necessity of finding out the unity in diversity. Now, the Lord knew it, the days to come. The Lord knew it. In the Bhagavad Gita we find Shri Krishna telling, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyam paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever there is vice increasing, at that time to protect the good people and to destroy the bad people, I incarnate myself. That is the promise given by Shri Krishna. And the same Lord who came in the form of Rama, who came in the form of Krishna, in our own times took the form of Sri Ramakrishna. But this time, he found out there is not only conflict between religion and science, between religion and atheism, agnosticism on one hand and religious faith on the other hand. That conflict also he had to solve, because modern age is the age of science, the age of reason, and that is why on behalf of all of us so-called educated people of the Western materialistic culture, as a representative, Narendra Dutt, a college student, was studying in Scottish Church College at the age of 19, went to Sri Ramakrishna and asked the question, "You are talking too much of God. Have you seen God?" This is the question he used to ask everybody, but never he got satisfactory reply. He had read like us Kant, Hegel, Spencer, John Stuart Mill, all the Western philosophers, and had become agnostic in the process. And he was looking for a rationalistic explanation of everything. I don't believe. Just because you are telling there is God, I don't believe. I want document evidence. I am the son of a lawyer. So document evidence. And he would ask this question, but nobody could reply. He was frustrated, but he wanted to know the truth. And one day when he had got to the college, the professor of English literature was absent. Nowadays when the professor is absent, the students enjoy. Holiday. But that time, during those times, it was not like that. The principal, Professor William Hastie himself, came to take the class of English literature, and he was teaching them their book, the Wordsworth poem, Excursion. And in that poem, the poet describes how he goes into a superconscious state after seeing the natural beauty, into Samadhi state. And then the students ask, "Sir, is it possible that any individual can enter into the superconscious state?" Then Professor William Hastie says, "Sir, yes, it is possible. It is possible. And I have seen one man who enters into this superconscious state, Samadhi state, very frequently. And if you want, you also can see him, because he lives in Calcutta only. There is a temple of Dakshineshwar of Goddess Kali. There Sri Ramakrishna lives, and he enters into this superconscious state frequently." And then Narendra Dutt, who later on became Swami Vivekananda, that time he was a college student, he said, "Okay, let me find out what about this Babaji also. I have already questioned many. Let me find out. Let me test." And he immediately went. When he went there, Sri Ramakrishna was in his room talking to the devotees. He sat down in one corner, and after Sri Ramakrishna had finished talking to the devotees, he said, "Now enough of your talks about God. Now answer my question. Have you seen God?" And for the first time he received a satisfactory reply. Sri Ramakrishna said, "Yes, my dear boy, I have seen God." And he said, "I am seeing Him more intensely than I am seeing you." Not only that, he said, "And if you want, you also can see Him. But you will have to undergo spiritual practices." Now that is what sounds like science of religion. Science says H2 plus O2 is equal to H2. I don't believe. Hydrogen is a gas, oxygen is a gas. How can it give water? It's not a question of belief. Come to the laboratory, mix hydrogen, oxygen, have a hydrolytic process, and if you don't get water, then you say, "I don't believe." Similarly, Sri Ramakrishna says, "I have seen God, you also can see Him, but you have to come to the laboratory and undergo spiritual practices." And Narendra accepted the challenge. He underwent spiritual practices. He himself had a first-hand experience of the superconscious state, and that is why he could declare in the world's parliament religions, based on his own realization, he could quote from the Shveta Upanishad, "Shrunvantu Vishve Amritasya Putra Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Adityavarnam Tamasta Parastat Tameva Viditvati Mritameti Nanya Padha Viditayanaya." I have found the ancient one is beyond all miseries. Knowing Him alone, you shall be free from all miseries. This is the message he gave at the world's parliament religions. We're talking about Hinduism. So Swami Vivekananda could see that would say that from his own realization. So, on our behalf, Swami Vivekananda examined and questioned, and Sri Ramakrishna answered. So, Sri Ramakrishna solved the conflict between science and religion. But in this age, another conflict was there, and that was the conflict between religion and religion. Multiple faiths. And this is a facial problem, as I told you, which has been resulting in a lot of bloodshed, which is not allowing us to have harmony, which is not allowing us to have world peace. And that is why God Himself came to solve the problem of religious plurality. There's a beautiful book by Claude Ellen Stark. The name of the book is God of All. And there he says, this is a peculiar problem of multiplicity of faiths. This plurality of faiths is a big problem, and we do not know how to solve this problem, because this is an age of reason and science, just telling all the people that all the faiths are equally true and valid paths to reaching the same goal. They won't believe. They won't believe. In this age, the only way we can solve the problem of religious plurality is if somebody by turn takes up the methods of spiritual practices as enjoined by various religions and faiths, and after undergoing physically, after undergoing individually, directly, undergoing all types of spiritual practices, if he declares, yes, I have practiced all the paths, and at the end of the culmination of all the paths, I had experienced the reality, and this reality was one and not different. Then only the modern man will believe. This is the only solution. And then he says, and fortunately, already a person has already been born. He was born. He did the same thing. He practiced all religions by turn and demonstrated in the laboratory of his own life the validity of all religions, and demonstrated that all religions lead to the same goal. But unfortunately, we are not aware about him, and that is Sri Ramakrishna. Romarullah said, the Nobel Prize laureate, he said, Sri Ramakrishna was the consummation of 2000 years life of 300 million people. That was the population at the time in 1923, when he wrote the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. So this is the culmination which came in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. And Sri Ramakrishna practiced all religions by turn. First, he was the priest of the Divine Mother Kali. So he had the first experience of Mother Kali. He got the division of Mother Kali. But he did not remain satisfied. Then he followed various other methods that are enjoined in Hinduism. So Vaishnavism, then Tantric sadhana. He had the vision of Rama, he had the vision of Krishna, he had the vision of Sita, he had the vision of Radha. Then he practiced Tantra under Bhairavi Brahmani. Then he practiced Vedanta under Totapuri, and he entered into Samadhi state. For 6 months he remained in superconscious state. And then after this, in 1866, he said, he prayed to Divine Mother, by your grace I have practiced all the various paths that are enjoined in Hinduism, but I want to know what is beyond Hinduism. And so in 1866 he took up the practice of Islam under Govind Rai. He was a Sufi saint, and he started reading out to him the Quran, and during those days he just ate like Muslim, wore the clothes like Muslim. He had the lifestyle of a Muslim, and there was a mosque near the Dakshineshwar. Whole day he would spend in the mosque. He removed the photographs of all the gods and goddesses from his room, because he was a Muslim. Muslims do not believe in form or no form, and prayed 5 times a day as the Muslims do. So he in practice also became a Muslim and went through the spiritual practices as enjoined in the Islam religion. And after a few days, in the grove of Panchavati, when he was walking, suddenly found a bearded man coming to him. maybe he was Prophet Muhammad. But he came, he embraced him, and he got dissolved into him. And after that, Sri Ramakrishna went into super conscious state. At that time, in the super conscious state, he had realization of the same reality which he had at the culmination of Vedantic religion, following Vedanta. And then, in 1874, he started practicing Christianity. That time somebody would read out to him from the Bible, and he became like a Christian. And then once, after so much of prayer, when he had gone to a nearby neighborhood house, there was the picture of Madonna having Christ in her lap. Suddenly the picture became alive, and the rays of light started emanating from the small Christ, from the small baby Christ, and entered into the heart of Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna entered into super conscious state. After that, after a few days, he was walking through the grove of Panchvati in Dakshineshwar. Suddenly he found a tall man, fair complexion, coming towards him. And who is he? Sri Ramakrishna was thinking. And somebody from his own heart said, here is Christ, who shed his blood for the sake of humanity, who worked hard for the saving the humanity. Here is Christ. Somebody told from within. And by that time Christ came and embraced him and disappeared into him. And he fell down unconscious. Again he had the same superconscious state, what he had at the end of Islam, what he had, same realization, same experience. So then he said, I have undergone all the spiritual practices enjoined by various religions. At the culmination, I had a direct realization of the one supreme reality, and that was one and not two. And so he said, Joto mat, toto pot. As many faiths, so many paths. These are all various religions, are various paths leading to the same goal. Manzil ek hai, raaste alag hai. There are many paths, but ultimately it is one reality, supreme reality. Of course, this reality has got different names, different forms, sometimes no form. This is conceived in various ways, doesn't matter. Ultimately the reality is one. And with a very beautiful metaphor he used to explain, there is a pond of water. From one side of the pond, from one ghat, a Hindu goes and brings, he says, I have brought jal. From the second side, the Muslim goes and says, no, I have brought pani. From the third side, the Christian goes and says, no, I have brought water. From the fourth side, the fourth person goes, no, I have brought aqua. Why are you quarreling? It is the same thing. Names are different, but thing is one. It is same water. You may call it jal, you may call it pani, you may call it water, you may call it aqua. Scientists will say it is H2O. Whatever name you give is a different thing. Names may be different. Ultimately it is H2O. Ultimate reality is it H2O. Similarly, it is the one supreme reality. Some may call God, some may call Allah, some may call Kali, Krishna, Buddha. So many, Amar Mazdu, so many names you may give. It is the same reality, taking different shapes, different forms, sometimes no form, but ultimately it's one reality. This is on an experimental basis Sri Ramakrishna established, and that is why Claude Ellen Stark says, we are proposing here a hypothesis whether Sri Ramakrishna's life can be a model for solving the problem of religious plurality, because he underwent all the spiritual practices himself and demonstrated that all the multiple faiths lead to the same goal. This finding of the unity in diversity is, and coming from the life of Sri Ramakrishna, is the force, is the process which can save the whole of civilization. Only they are not yet aware. There is a beautiful book by Christopher Isherwood. He was the famous novelist of America. Christopher Isherwood. Some films also have been made based on his novels. But he has written a beautiful book. The name of the book is Ramakrishna and His Disciples. It's not a novel. It's all based on facts. Concrete facts. And he has said all the authentic facts only is presented. There is no imagination. But the style is so nice, you feel as if you're reading a novel. And he starts this book by the sentence, this is the story of a phenomenon. I will not call him incarnation, I will not call him a saint, I will not call him a great person, whatever, you may take whatever person. But I am here giving the story of a phenomenon and exactly what are the incidents that have happened. I will narrate to you, you take in your own light. See, in our age, the Lord came in the form of Sri Ramakrishna, demonstrated that all religions lead to the same goal. And this is the message. And Swami Vivekananda says his whole life was in itself the parliament of religions. Whole life he was experimenting with various phases. His whole life itself was the parliament of religions. And that is why his disciple, Sri Ramakrishna's disciple Swami Vivekananda, was the fittest disciple, was the fittest person to deliver his message at the world's parliament of religions. For the first time it was being organized. But he was not invited. He went uninvited. He came here uninvited. And he was so simple in thinking. He thought there is nothing much needed. I will go and start shouting. But he didn't know that registration has to be done. And there has to be some sort of a sponsoring letter. And somebody has to sponsor him. And somebody has to, some organization has to sponsor. And then he needs a letter of introduction. He finds, and then he also found out that he had come in the end of July. It was in the month of September, and every day hotel charges, in New York and Chicago much more. So much charges within 3-4 days. He thought that within a week he'll be running out of money, and then no begging was allowed at that time. In America now we can beg. So many devotees are there, but that time situation not that. He would be just ending up in a prison. So what to do? He became alarmed, so he fortunately went to Boston and lady took care of. That's a very fascinating story. And it is there, it's all divine plan that he met the Harvard University professor, Professor John Henry Wright, and he was so much impressed by the knowledge of Swami Vivekananda. He said, Swamiji, you ought to go to participate in the world's parliament of religions. The whole world should know about your extraordinary knowledge. Swami said, I came only for that purpose. But now I discover that they want a letter of introduction. From where can I get the letter of introduction? Professor Wright said, what? To ask credentials from you is like asking the sun as to what right it has to shine on the earth. And then he himself said, I will write a letter of introduction.